Welcome everyone to Hacking the Universe with Erin Werley.
And Philip Werley.
And How Set in Stone is the name for this show.
We could always just change it.
Yeah. We like the name. Phil came up with a name. I like it. I think it's really good.
Okay.
So we're going to totally call it Hacking the Universe. I think, did I look up? Because I want to do this as a podcast too. But I can't remember if it's available or not. Do you remember?
I barely know what a podcast is. So I'm the wrong person to ask.
It's a really cool thing you can do.
So it's like a radio show, right?
Yeah.
But on the computer.
On the computer, yeah. See, you know stuff.
Yeah.
You know what's going on. Okay. Cool. Amazing. So we hope you guys are doing amazing. We're having a pretty good week. We've been going to the pool a lot of time.
Get the break from that.
Yeah. Yeah. Kids are at grandma's house, which is amazing. Oh my gosh. I know what we should talk about. Okay. So should we talk about the history of the world?
Yeah, you were telling me about that. It sounds pretty interesting.
Oh my gosh. It's so exciting. So I started channeling through the history of the world, and it's a big deal. Phil hasn't seen it yet. He hasn't heard about it really, except that I've been like every 5 minutes, like talking into the voice app on my phone. And then I was supposed to put it out like everywhere today. I was supposed to write it as a blog post and put it out everywhere. But there's so much. I haven't had a chance to go through it yet. There's so much. But that's coming as a blog post near you, to Soul Star Energetics, the free masterclass that I am doing tomorrow. We are going to learn all about this because it's very much about, see, it's like, do I talk about this now or not?
I don't know. I don't know what's on the roster today.
So it's about the false light matrix that essentially exists here on Earth, that is overlaying everything we as humans interact with and making us experience a ton of fear and doubt, as opposed to what's really true for us, that we are limitless beings of light, that we are all God, that we are all source, that there is no disconnect there. So it's very much about how, moving beyond the false light matrix.
I'll turn the alarm off. Remember that.
Yeah. That alarm goes off every hour so that we can remind our children to sit on the potty
alarm.
Yeah. And if you sit on the potty, you get a half a marshmallow, and if something comes out, you get a whole marshmallow.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
It is pretty awesome. Yeah. So what should we talk about?
Well, you were just talking about the false matrix.
Well, I don't know that I feel.
I've heard of the Matrix.
Okay.
Movie. I don't know what a false matrix is.
Okay. So. Well, essentially, because it's a lot, right? That would probably take up our 45 minutes here, and I'll probably
something else.
I'll probably forget about it. I'll probably forget like a bunch of different parts of it. Is that what you want? I feel like I probably have some hesitation.
Okay.
I totally wanted to come on here and talk about this, and now I feel like fear, right? I feel like, is it safe to, right? Is it safe? Like, it feels like, is it safe? It's so interesting when it was all coming through me yesterday, there was just this knowing that, yes, of course I share this. And the reason that I chose that I'm going to share this is because I was shown a few days ago how I have this pattern in my life of being shown a lot of information from the universe. And then, because I was asking for it, I was like, show me your ways, universe. Show me what's going on. I want to know. Give it all to me. Give me all the good stuff. And then I get shown like a bunch of information. I basically like panic and freak out and run in the other direction for a few years. So that's what I was shown, this pattern over and over again. Like when
we get what we want, and then it's more than what we expected. So then we like block it out. Like, oh, this is scary.
Yeah, essentially.
Didn't know what we were asking for.
Yeah. Like, so when when we were in Virginia Beach in 2011, and I was like really doing I am embodiment so well. And then, but I wasn't willing to do that thing where we published the book back then, which was what the guidance was telling me to do while I was doing the I Am embodiment all day. Oops.
That was scary.
That was too scary. That was
took us
scary.
like, what, 8 years to get the guts to do that.
Yeah. Start talking about it even. Yeah. Probably 9 years to really do the thing. But, so I basically ran. I ran in the other direction because it was too scary. And then a few years later, when I had that experience with the energy worker, with being fully I Am, that scared the shit out of me. I just remember crying afterwards and being terrified. And I felt like I would have to leave you to become fully I Am. And I didn't want to do that. I ran in the other direction again. And then a few years later, it's like every 2 years, I think, something, we were shown more. And I was like, don't show. No, I didn't really want that. Just show me like the best, coolest stuff, but don't show me the truth. Oh no, that's too much. The truth
is never what we expect it to be. Like you ask for it, you think it's going to be something, and it's totally different than you expected, and it's not all what you wanted it to be. And it's like, then you're like, do I want to know this now? You know, so it's like you have to decide: am I really looking for the truth? Or am I looking for a painless delusion? Yeah, that I can just that's not painful. That I don't have to feel.
Yes, a not painful.
Right.
Yes,
because the truth takes a lot. The truth about this world is a lot you have to face.
Yeah,
a lot
that's why spiritual awakening is so painful.
Yeah, because when you find out the truth about this world, it's not what you were led to believe. It's not what you expected. It's like did not see that come in. Yeah, and it throws you for a loop and. You're like, do I want to face this, or do I want to ignore it and pretend that I never found that out? Yeah, you have to make that decision.
Yeah, and so I'm being shown because I was shown this pattern because I specifically I was in this amazing place for like a good month there not too long ago where I was so far out of the fear vibration. I was like literally it wasn't even on my radar. I was so deeply embodied with magic because after I had made a very specific choice and it was like I just totally raised my vibration. It was amazing. It was incredible. But then I noticed maybe a week or two ago that I was starting to feel a little bit more fear around things. I was starting to come down from that. And I was like, why? What happened? And I realized it was because and during this time when my vibration was raised, I was being given so much past life information, right? All that witch stuff, so much other stuff. And for other people too, I was seeing so much. And there was a lot of pain for me to carry there, right? And feeling being burned alive at the stake over and over again, feeling being a leader in that time who led other people. And we ended up burned at the stake. So, right, feeling the failureship in lifetime after lifetime of my leadership, right? So it was a lot for me to hold. And I ended up asking, well, can I just not have that because it was waking me up in the middle of the night, all of these things. And I was like, can I just not have that while I sleep? And then I recognized that shut it off completely. Because I wasn't willing to accept what was divinely ready to come through me, right? And I can see how. So then I started asking, what do I do to get it back? I do want it. I do feel that I'm ready. And I feel like that last time of me asking to turn it off while I was asleep, it was sort of like the last hurrah of that old version of me that was afraid. Coming up like a last gasp of air, right? That afraid version of me, taking this last breath of air and trying to tread water. And no, I don't choose that. I don't choose to shrink. I don't choose to not see the full truth. I choose all of it now. And I choose it all with my eyes wide open, understanding what it comes with. The pain that has to be felt, the pain that has to be alchemized back to light. I fully am making that choice with my eyes wide open, which is super powerful, super empowering. But yeah, I see how it was 2 years after that God embodiment experience that we began to get all that information about essentially like how the world actually operates, like all the darkness in the world. And it was so wild. It was so crazy. We eventually went back on fluoride toothpaste because fluoride calcifies your third eye, and it, of course, not medical advice, but fluoride calcifies your third eye. And
that's the medical explanation for it. Who knows what it like metaphysically does, but
no, it's not. The medical explanation is there's nothing wrong with fluoride. It doesn't do anything to you.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, obviously, we aren't offering medical advice during these chit chats. However, I highly recommend listening to your intuition. If you are guided to no longer using fluoride, highly recommend that. Yeah. But anyway, so we weren't using fluoride, and so you can, when you stop using fluoride, it only takes about a week to start seeing more, because that's how quickly your third eye starts decalcifying, all those calcifications, the hardness. It had been hardened. Your third eye is your pineal gland, and it's supposed to be like vibrating really high and jumping all over the place. But when you consume fluoride, it just sort of traps it and makes it stop moving and vibrating. And of course, sound and vibration and energy are what the universe is made up of. So if you are calcifying it and slowing the vibration and movement of that pineal gland, then your intuition is going to tank.
That's weird. It's like all of a sudden you just can't see the things. They're like obvious, but you can't see them. And then when you get off of it, all of a sudden you're noticing all this stuff, and you're like, it's right there. I couldn't see it before.
Yeah, exactly.
So
do not see
obvious, blatantly right out in the open.
Yeah.
But I couldn't see it.
Well, it's because our brains are processing billions of bits of information every single second.
Yeah.
And it's literally zeroing in on whatever we are a vibrational match for based on how fast our pineal gland is vibrating, right? Based on how fast our third eye is vibrating.
Okay.
So we are literally zeroing in on whatever information matches that vibratory speed of our pineal gland. Literally. So anyway, this was back in like 2014. We were shown all of these things going on in the world that we never would have guessed about, right? And it was too much for us. And we've said, somehow we just, I think I'm going to start using fluoride toothpaste again. It wasn't a conscious choice. It was just like, I think I want fluoride toothpaste for some reason. I don't think this other method's really cleaning my teeth. I think maybe they were right about fluoride. I think maybe fluoride's good. So we went back on the fluoride toothpaste, and I could still hear I am, but it wasn't as strong. And but both of us were unhappy professionally, getting more and more bitter, and we decided to publish the book. And then it was in early 2000, not long after the book was published, and right around the start of the pandemic, I was told, I think I was in the bath, and I heard loud and clear, throw all the fluoride toothpaste out as soon as you're out of the bath, and go tell Phil, and you need to buy fluoride-free toothpaste. I was like, okay. I was like, Phil, we have to buy fluoride-free toothpaste, and I have to throw all this toothpaste out. You're going to have to go to the store now and go find some fluoride-free toothpaste. And Phil was like, what? Right? He was like,
I don't even remember this, but yeah.
Yeah. So you went to get fluoride-free toothpaste. You were kind of looking at me a little bit like, okay, all right, I'll do this, you weirdo. And within a week, then we started seeing again. We started being able all this information, and we could see then what was going on with the pandemic, actually. And we started seeing again. And this time, oh my gosh, was it painful, because we saw more than we had seen the first time when we rejected it. And we talked about it. We considered rejecting it and not looking anymore because it was so painful.
Yeah. It's like at some point it's like too much.
Yeah.
You have to go through the grieving process, go through the stages of grief. First, like denial, and then I can't remember what all the stages are, but depression,
denial, anger,
depression,
bargaining, and then to acceptance. Yeah. So we had quite a few really sad days when we were in the sadness stage. We wanted to hop off the bus at the denial stage. This can't be real.
Yeah.
This can't be real. There's no way we live in a world where this stuff is going on.
And we had to I remember we had the conversation about it. We made the conscious decision we weren't going to deny this. We weren't going to be ignorant.
That's exactly what it was.
We were going to.
It was a very conscious
we're going to move
decision.
through this, and yeah,
it was and that's what this is all about, guys. It's about choosing. It's about the conscious decisions that we make. Yeah. So I was shown this pattern, right? How I had backed away over and over and over again. And I was shown this is the time where it actually matters. That all of those other times, I was essentially being prepared for this time. When I would see how painful it has been in my life when I have denied and I said, no, I can't handle that. That's too much. How everything sort of spiraled out of control, how I spiraled out of control and got more and more miserable, more and more away from my truth and what resonates with me deep inside. And I could see that if I didn't choose all of this with my eyes wide open, that was pretty much it for me. Like, this is what I'm here to do. And so I made the conscious choice to receive the guidance, the past life stuff, whatever wants to come through, whenever it wants to come through, trusting that I'm being divinely led. And so I was given something magical, something so big that I'm having to consciously remind myself every moment of the day, or since it started coming through yesterday afternoon, that I'm not crazy, that this is actually really happening. What I'm getting is real, and I'm being called to share it. And I'm like, okay, all right, I'm doing this because I understand the pain of not doing it. So it's a conscious decision that I'm doing this. And I haven't shared it with you yet because and it's like, you have never once been like, oh, Erin, you're a crazy person, right? Mm-hmm, yeah. But within me is still like the fear that one day I'm going to say the thing that's so crazy that you're like, Erin, you're a crazy person. And so, all that. So I'm also happy.
We got that out of the way like the first day when you came out of the shower and we were like, oh, I'm talking to God. I was like, all right, I'll get to the bottom of this. It's like, let me talk to this thing. Figure out what's going on. I think she's talking to God.
Is that what you were really thinking?
I was like, we're going to find out, I was like, well, if this is real, then it's going to, I'm going to test it. I'm going to see, if this is just Erin's make-believe or if this is really something real. And after that first conversation, I was like, holy shit. This is really happening. So after that, I was sold. I was like, all right, this is the real deal.
Yeah. I could feel, so this information is so big. It's so otherworldly. It's so like mind-blowing to me that I'm having to remind myself, not throughout the day. I've started saying to myself, it is safe for me to be a prophet, essentially, because that's what I'm doing. I can feel my throat tightening from the old version of me wanting to protect myself and not say things like that, right? Things that could bring on criticism or judgment. And the other thing I'm having to say to myself is that it is not my job to prove the worth of this information. So like my inclination was immediately to just tell it all to Phil so Phil could validate it for me, right? And say, oh, I believe that too. And then that would then strengthen my knowing. But I'm beyond where that is necessary at this point on my journey. The thing that is my deepest knowing is that there's no need for anyone else to validate to me what comes to me has extreme value, and that the way I build my knowing in that is reminding myself that of course it's valuable. Of course, everything that I've been through has shown me over and over and over again that the world we live in is an illusion, that what we believe is true is not true. And yet there's still that part of me that has been programmed since I was born, that this world is solid and all the rules we learn about it, all the science we learn about it is true. There's that part of me that's screaming and saying, you can't tell people this world's an illusion. They all believe it's real. You'll be the only one saying it's an illusion.
Because you kind of want to run back to it because it feels safer.
Yeah.
It's like safer parting better than the herd. And you're like, yeah, I'm like everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's not, that
I'm
safety is an illusion.
Yeah.
You actually aren't at all
No,
safe
no.
that. The safest that you are is when
It's part
you
of the
follow.
herd being led to the slaughter. So it's like, well,
Yeah. The safest you are is when you are actually following the guidance. And we've seen that over and over again. The guidance never lets us down. It's us that lets us down when we're afraid to follow the guidance.
Yeah.
And so it's like I can see how all of those times of me being afraid to follow guidance in the past has led me here to this deep knowing that there's no choice for me to move forward on my life path except to follow my guidance essentially without question. So it's really exciting. Well, at the same time, that human part of me is like, stop, run in the other direction, don't. But it's like, so I'm so hyper aware right now of that and reminding myself I'm safe, I'm supported.
What's next on the roster here?
Well, I don't know. Should we start talking about this? Should we just see how it goes?
I don't know. I don't know what it is, so I can't really answer that question.
Okay. Well, it's the history of the world.
Okay.
It's the history of our world, the history of Earth, and interestingly enough, it does not start here on Earth.
Okay.
Okay. So it starts with the first physical world that I am ever created. And first, my throat's tightening up again from more fear of sharing, but I am is not the highest. There is a source above I am that created our I am, that created our world. Okay, our essential universe, our universal mind. There is a I am that created that I am. So this is the first physical world that our I am created.
This one that we're on?
No.
No, okay. The one you're talking about.
Yes, we're going to call it Planet One. Okay. Planet One. And on Planet One, and you know this already, this part about it, because this came through in early 2000. After we stopped doing the fluoride, we were asking, essentially, when we were being shown this incredible amount of darkness on the earth, we were like, I am, what's going on here? Why is this existing? And I am showed us this. And I was like, at the time, I was like, should I share this? And I am said, no, absolutely not. That's not part of your journey right now. But right now, it's very clear. Yes, it's part of my journey. So we've got Planet One. Okay. And on Planet One, I am creates all of these beings. And these beings are simply I am embodied. There are no personas. There's no angels. There's no teams of light surrounding you with love. There's no separate individual souls. None of this has been created. I am is essentially a baby, an infant creator. Okay. Universal mind is wide open with not much in it.
But there's a bunch of them on this planet.
I'm told thousands.
Okay.
Thousands of created bodies that are fully I am embodied.
And then, so they know there's no ego. That means they know that they're I am.
Yeah, there's no
ego keeps us in the dark. Keeps
no,
us not knowing a truth about ourselves, thinking that we're an individual.
Yeah, there's no separation.
Okay.
So, but also, we on Earth have so many support mechanisms built in for our journey. Okay. And that is literally because lessons were learned through the failure of this first physical world creation. And so spirit guides, angels, ascended masters, all of these higher dimensional beings that are watching over us, the fact that we have souls and individual soul missions or life paths, goals that our soul is here to accomplish in this life is all a result of I am learning through the failure of this first planet when none of that was in place. Okay. So it was essentially this first planet.
And the creation of the ego.
All of it. Everything. Because that, yes. So I'm going to say that it's a no to the creation of the ego.
Okay.
The creation of the ego is a no. The creation of the ego is a side effect of being physical, because actually these beings, this is what's so interesting, these beings began to create their own egos. Okay. So they have none of these physical world supports that we have. They're simply God embodied. Now, the interesting thing about I am is, as far as I am within universal mind, obviously we're all I am too, but I am within universal mind, the non-physical bright white light that is I am. When it starts creating something, it creates the entire world, the blueprints for everything within the world. Okay. And these blueprints are made to run on autopilot, essentially. So I am can then turn away from that world and go create something else. Okay. So I am's not essentially consciously watching over. That's what angels and light teams are now used for. I am creates the physical things and then creates these beings of light to be the non-physical supports for them, right? Because I am is simply just not paying attention. I am is going to create another physical world. So these beings, they could literally, because they're a direct connection with I am with no separation. They know exactly who they are. They know why they're here. They're here. They're just going to create stuff. It's their first time physical. They just started creating physical stuff. And we're talking instant manifestation, right? Roast beef sandwich, boom, roast beef sandwich. Okay. Castle, boom, castle, right? No delayed gratification, instant gratification. Okay. No goal either. Zero goals. They have no actual purpose except to instantly manifest. And that sounds really cool, right? It sounds like freaking awesome. Who doesn't want to instantly manifest a castle? But if you think about it in your life, when you don't have much purpose, right? You start to get a little miserable. Sometimes that makes you angry. Sometimes it makes you sad. They started to literally go crazy.
It's kind of like people who, when they retire, a lot of people that retire, they find out they're actually bored and they actually go back to work because they need something to do.
Yeah. The whole point of being physical is to have physical experiences, but they are instant manifestors. They don't belong in the physical world.
Okay.
So it's just, we don't see it that way from our perspective of not being instant manifestors. We're like, give me it. That sounds great. Who wouldn't thrive under those conditions? But those conditions lack a purpose. If you are an instant,
they lack a journey.
Yeah, they lack a journey. Yeah.
We want to create something, we have to build it and go on this journey to create it. And it's like the journey is more valuable than the destination.
Exactly. That's so deep. Yes.
They're just getting the destination without any journey.
That's exactly right.
So you're saying they went crazy?
Yeah, they went crazy. So without a purpose, they started taking on essentially, and I'm told similar to emotions, not quite emotions. They started getting frustrated, angry, sad, because there was no point to them being physical.
Okay.
They're essentially acting as if they are still I am in universal mind, instantly manifesting, but they are stuck in the physical world. So, okay. So they started essentially going crazy. And I am, who is now over here creating other things, not paying attention to them at all. When I am turns around and notices they're all fighting with each other, they're all destroying each other, they're starting to create crazy things because they know nothing will technically harm each other. They're starting to do untold violence to each other.
Interesting. There's a Simpsons episode that's like this. I think it's one of the Treehouse of Horror ones.
Oh, I never watched the Treehouse.
Yeah, it's where Bart, I don't remember exactly what it was, but Bart is given unlimited power where anything he thinks is instantly created. And he goes insane and starts doing all this crazy stuff.
That is interesting.
Yeah, really interesting.
Interesting. Okay.
So go on. They're fighting. They're doing what, bad stuff?
Yeah, they're just destroying each other essentially because, again, with no purpose and realizing that no one will be technically hurt because they're all I am, they just start doing horrible things to each other to try to feel something. Because that's the point of coming to the physical world, is to feel. They're trying to feel, and the only thing they're coming up with is feeling horrible things, but at least they're experiencing feeling. Because they actually weren't able to sort of experience like joy through these creations for very long. That was like the first few times it was really cool, but instant manifesting, when you can do it every single time, it loses the shine.
Yeah, it would get boring.
Right? Exactly. It got incredibly boring. And so to feel, they started doing horrible things to each other. And yeah, it was feeling bad, but at least they were feeling and now experiencing. Because experiencing in the physical world is all about feeling. So essentially, they were developing personas. They were developing a separation from God Source I Am. Okay, so they're still fully hooked up to God Source I Am, and they notice God Source I Am in the non-physical turn back to them and see what's going on over here, which is like essentially like bloody all-out war. And imagine, as they're instant manifestors, somebody, whatever, cuts them up and they're bleeding, they just manifest, I'm instantly healed, and they can go right back to it, So it's really a mess because nobody's actually dying. They're just healing, and then it's getting worse and worse. Okay. So God Source I Am in the non-physical sees what's going on, is like, oh, that's not what I meant to do. I'm just going to blow this world up and all the creations on it. And then I'm learning, I'm expanding, I'm growing, I'm figuring out about this creation stuff. They obviously need to create someone to, higher vibrational beings to support them. And also all these other things, right? They need goals. They need individual personas that will help them feel things. So not personas, souls that will help them feel things. So they instantly know that this is what God Source I Am is going to do, because there's no separation. And so some of them are like, okay, fine. Going back to God Source I Am. Perfect. And that's all of us. We're part of that. So that was made very, very clear to me that we all have the memory of this within us, because we were all there on this planet, because we are all God Source I Am. Okay. So we were all there on this planet, and all of us that are here as souls, we were at one time on this planet, and we made the choice to allow ourselves to be destroyed with the planet and go directly back to God Source I Am. Okay. But there were some of these creatures that are like, well, hell no. I'm having way too much fun destroying everything. There's no way I'm going back to God Source I Am. So this was within seconds. They did this. And time does not exist. And that's a very important thing of understanding. There's no linear time. Time does not exist. That's an important part of the journey of this story. Mm-hmm. But they, within seconds, they had created a fleet of spaceships that they got on. Okay. And then they essentially programmed the spaceships to fly to Earth, which is a very new created planet that is very much, I'm told, like the idea of the Garden of Eden. Okay. So they create the spaceships, program them, jump on the spaceships, and they sever all connection from God Source I Am. Remember, they're instant manifestors. They can do this. Now, there's no actual separate. They can't ever fully separate themselves, but they separated themselves from the embodiment of God in their bodies. And they still exist within the universal mind of God Source I Am. That's where they exist. So they have never fully separated themselves, but they have chosen not to run essentially on the light directly coming from God Source I Am, because God Source I Am's choice was to say no.
So they had to sever this.
There's the only way to stay alive.
Otherwise, they would return.
Yeah,
because that was Iam's decision.
Yeah.
So they use basically their power as I am to block that. They're like, no, I'm creating a new creation.
Yeah. Okay. So the spaceships took them to Earth. Now remember, they were just fully hooked up to God Source I Am. So they had full knowledge of everything else God Source I Am had been creating, all other planets, all other creations, and Earth was their choice. Okay, that's a big deal.
Okay.
Understand they chose Earth because it was going to be the easiest path for them. Okay. So they're in the spaceships. Now and I don't know why this is important, but for whatever reason, it was important to share. And then I'm told it's because they're still operating with these spaceships. So to understand how they operate is important. Okay. So it seemed to me like I was being shown teleportation, where they teleported from planet 1 to planet Earth. Okay. So like teleportation is where you dematerialize and rematerialize, right? You don't actually journey in between. I don't know why, but I was told this was incredibly important to the story. Okay. But that is not what happened. They journeyed in between, but it was so fast that a person would think they teleported. Okay. So it was like seconds, but again, time does not exist. Okay. So like way faster than like warp speed in Star Wars. Okay. So they're hovering above Earth in their spaceships. And they again, so I want you to think of it like this is what I was channeled, what I was told to say. Think of it like this. Think of it like these two worlds do not go together. They're two separate games, two separate simulations, Earth and Planet 1. Okay. So it's like taking Battleship, the game, and Monopoly, the game, and putting them together. It's no contest. Okay. If you're going to fight a war of weapons, who wins every single time?
Battleship.
Why?
Because that's how they set up.
Yeah. And how's Monopoly set up?
Totally different.
Not to fight a war of weapons, which is what Earth was set up like. Okay. So two different games, they do not play together. Okay. So obviously Battleship has the weapons. So Battleship can take, what can Battleship take from Monopoly? Right? All the money, all the buildings, all the everything, even all the players, because it has the weapons. Okay. So and again, they know, they have full knowledge of Monopoly. They have full knowledge of the Earth and the humans and everything. Okay. So essentially and I was shown how fear works. Like we had believed that these dark energy structures fed off the fear, but no, what actually happens is humans are a direct connection to God's source. I am with these souls that become very individualized personas once we're born. So look at it this way. Each of us has 100% access, has 100 God's source light energy points surrounding us. Okay. Powering us up all day long. Okay. These guys have 0 now. And so they know they have seconds to get some God source light energy points or they're going to die. Okay. So they essentially understand that the faster they bring the humans down in vibration, the faster the humans won't need access to all of their 100 light points. Okay. So they come in down from the sky all over Earth. So they spread out throughout the Earth, which is why there's so many stories throughout all different cultures about these gods coming in from the sky. This was it. Okay. So they come in from the sky on their chariots of fire or whatever is in these different cultures, right? And so it's literally these alien spaceships and they're coming out and they look like giants. Okay. And they basically say, we're your gods, you have to listen to us. And the humans are terrified. They have all these weapons aimed at them and everything. They're terrified. This is not their simulation. They have no way to process it. And so they go down to 1 or 2 light points. Okay? Which means now 98 or 99 light points per human is available for these beings to siphon off. No one can take our light unless we aren't using it. That's important. If we aren't using the light, someone can literally siphon it off of us. But it has to be our choice to not utilize it. And when we saw all of this in the sky and felt fear, instead of felt that, well, that doesn't matter, we're infinitely supported. We chose the fear over, I've lived this life on this planet. It's beautiful. Nothing bad's ever happened really here. And so I'm safe. It doesn't matter that there's a bunch of weird stuff in the sky. I'm supported. So we made that conscious decision to say, oh, this is so different than what I know. I'm screwed. And they were able to siphon off our energy. As soon as they started pulling the energy up to them, they then formed this false matrix light grid around the earth that would continuously be siphoning off humans' energy and keeping them in a lower vibration. And they did this by essentially coming down and scaring the humans often, which is why mythology and all of these older cultures have these stories of these gods coming down from the sky so often. And we're like, well, why does that never happen for us? It's because we were programmed so well back then that there was no need to continue. There was no need to continue coming and doing it in person. We just learned that we're a species that operates with 1 or 2 light points per person. And that's just what's normal. So that's the start of the story.
Okay. It's a pretty good story.
Isn't it?
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool because it's like there's actually something that we do now. There has been this huge waiting period for all of us where it's like all we could do was hold hope and hold trust and faith. And now it's like, oh, this is actually what we do. It's actually what we do. Oh my gosh. Like, this is it. This is why our souls came here into these bodies in this life for this. It's a big deal. I'm excited.
Excited too. I can't wait to find out.
All right. So much love to each and every one of you, and we will see you soon. Goodbye.